The first time it happened, I couldn't believe my luck or misfortune. I had always known that exploring my feminine side was a secret I had to keep tightly locked away, but life had a way of tossing surprises at you when you least expected it. And today was no exception. I'm Kevin, a 23-year-old graduate student with a quiet life and a carefully maintained secret. I loved crossdressing. Not as a passing fancy, not as a dare, but as a way to explore a side of myself that felt alive, thrilling, and terrifying. It wasn't something I shared with anyone. Not my roommates, not my friends, and definitely not my best friend, Chris. Chris had always been the type to see everything in black and white. Fun, loyalty, and the occasional prank, but understanding me? That was a completely different story. My apartment, a modest one-bedroom near campus, was my sanctuary. The cozy setup, with a small living room bathed in warm afternoon light, a corner vanity cluttered with makeup, and a carefully organized wardrobe, was a haven where I could be myself without judgment. Every detail mattered. The softness of my skirts, the thrill of picking the right heels, the careful strokes of eyeliner that framed my eyes in a way that made me feel complete. Yet today, that sanctuary would be invaded in a way I never imagined. Chris's mom, Mrs. Dalton, had always been warm and maternal toward both of us. She was in her late 40s, elegant, with a soft, comforting voice and a sense of style that always made me feel a little self-conscious. She had a way of seeing through people, of noticing things they tried to hide. I should have known that spending time in her house today would be risky. But the truth is, I wasn't thinking straight. It had started as a harmless joke. Chris had dared me to wear one of his sister's skirts, teasing me relentlessly about how funny it would look. I hadn't thought it would escalate beyond the privacy of my own room. I laughed, took the skirt, and changed behind my closed bedroom door, expecting nothing more than a few sarcastic comments. But when I peeked through the crack in my door to check Chris's reaction, I froze. Mrs. Dalton was standing in the living room, holding a plate of cookies, her eyes wide, but not in shock. There was something else there. Curiosity. Approval almost. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. She saw me. And not just that. I felt her gaze tracing the lines of my outfit, taking in the skirt, the blouse, the way I had carefully styled my hair. My face flushed, and I wanted to disappear, but I couldn't. Her smile was gentle, understanding, almost maternal in a way that unsettled me more than fear ever could. I stammered, trying to cover myself with the skirt, but she waved me down with a soft laugh. Don't worry, sweetie. You look lovely. Lovely. The word hung in the air, strange and intoxicating. It wasn't teasing. It wasn't judgmental. It was something I had never expected from anyone, let alone my best friend's mother. The warmth in her voice, the kind eyes that softened every edge of my anxiety, made me feel seen in a way I had always craved. I wanted to flee. I wanted to retreat back into the safety of my room, into my anonymity, into the secret world where skirts and heels didn't matter to anyone but me. But something in her presence, something in the way she didn't recoil, didn't laugh, didn't call me out, made me hesitate. We spent the afternoon in a strange, delicate balance. Chris was oblivious, absorbed in video games in the corner, while Mrs. Dalton and I shared small talk. Her questions were gentle, probing just enough to make me think, to test me, without pushing too far. She asked about my studies, my hobbies, my plans after graduation, and then, almost casually, she asked about my outfit. "You really like these skirts, don't you?" she said, tilting her head with a knowing smile. I froze, my cheeks burning. For a moment, I considered lying, denying everything. But the truth came out before I could stop it. "Yes, I do," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's comforting. Fun. I don't know if it feels like me." Her smile widened, a soft, approving curve that made my chest tighten. "I understand, sweetie. Really, I do. And, if you ever need someone to help you, or just talk, you can come to me. You're safe here." Safe. That word, repeated like a mantra, made my heart swell and my stomach twist all at once. She wasn't judging me. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't horrified. She saw me. And more than that, she accepted me in a way I had never experienced before. By the time Chris finally noticed and teased me, I had already begun to feel something shift inside me. Mrs. Dalton's presence, her warmth, her subtle guidance, it wasn't just comforting. It was transformative. I had stepped into her living room as Kevin, the cautious, secretive crossdresser. But I was leaving with a feeling I couldn't name yet, a mix of thrill, embarrassment, and hope. And that, I realized as I straightened the skirt and adjusted my hair, was the start of something entirely new. A new chapter where my secret wasn't just mine, it was shared, gently, with someone I could trust. And I couldn't wait, but also, I feared what this meant. Because once you let someone see that side of you, even with acceptance, nothing is ever truly the same again. After that afternoon, my life began to feel like walking a tightrope. The world I had carefully constructed, a world of secret skirts, high heels, and whispered transformations, was suddenly intertwined with Mrs. Dalton's presence. I kept telling myself it was harmless. She hadn't judged me, hadn't laughed, hadn't told Chris. But I couldn't ignore the subtle shift in how I viewed myself or how I imagined she saw me. I spent the next few days reflecting on what had happened. Each time I closed my eyes, I remembered her soft smile, the understanding in her eyes, the gentle tone that had made me feel both exposed and safe. My secret, once a private thrill, now carried a strange new weight. I began thinking about what it would mean if this continued. Could I allow her to see me like this again? Could I risk letting someone into a world I had always guarded so carefully? It was Friday evening when the next incident occurred. Chris had gone out with friends, leaving me alone at his mother's house to borrow a book for a project. The truth was, I had an ulterior motive. The living room's big window, bathed in golden afternoon light, was perfect for trying on new outfits. And I couldn't resist. I quietly slipped into one of the skirts I had brought with me, paired it with a blouse I adored, and added the delicate ballet flats I had discovered were far more comfortable than heels for extended wear. Each item I put on felt like a whisper of freedom, a thrill I could barely contain. Standing in front of the mirror, I traced the lines of my reflection, marveling at how the outfit transformed me. The skirt hugged my hips just enough to feel feminine but not exaggerated. The blouse framed my shoulders delicately, and the flats allowed me to move gracefully. I breathed in the scent of my favorite perfume, letting it mingle with the warm light, and for a moment, I felt whole, alive. That's when she walked in. I froze, heart pounding, as Mrs. Dalton appeared in the doorway, holding a cup of tea. Her expression was unreadable for a heartbeat, then softened into a smile that made my knees weak. "You really do know how to dress, Kevin," she said casually, as if seeing me in a skirt was the most normal thing in the world. I didn't expect you," I stammered, wrapping my arms around myself instinctively. "I was just trying something." Her smile didn't falter. "I know. And you're doing beautifully. Would you like some help picking an outfit for the evening? I think a little guidance could make you shine even more." The audacity, the thrill, the subtle power in her words. It hit me like a jolt. I hesitated, then nodded, unable to resist the pull of her warmth and approval. What followed was a mixture of laughter, gentle teasing, and careful instruction as she guided me through her wardrobe. She helped me select a dress, one that fit snugly around my waist and flared elegantly at my knees, paired with matching heels that clicked softly against the hardwood floors. She adjusted my hair, teaching me a subtle twist that framed my face, and dabbed a touch of lip gloss onto my lips. With each movement, each adjustment, I felt a strange combination of vulnerability and empowerment. She wasn't just helping me dress, she was teaching me to embrace this part of myself, to exist in it fully, without shame. I could feel my heart racing, a blend of fear and exhilaration, as she stepped back to admire her handiwork. "You look wonderful, Kevin," she said softly, almost reverently. "Beautiful, confident you. That's what matters." The words were intoxicating. I wanted to collapse into her arms, to let her see all of me. Not just the skirts and makeup, but the nervous, vulnerable side that no one had ever seen. Instead, I stood there, flushed, trying to breathe normally while my mind swirled with thoughts of trust, fear, and desire. For the next few days, our dynamic shifted subtly, but undeniably. Mrs. Dalton's presence became a constant in my thoughts. She offered gentle guidance, subtle advice, and the occasional sly remark that made my cheeks burn. Sometimes it was about clothing, sometimes about posture, sometimes about how to carry myself in public. Each moment was a test, a challenge, and a thrill all at once. Yet with every step forward, the suspense grew. I had to navigate this new relationship delicately. Chris remained oblivious, and I was desperate to keep it that way. Mrs. Dalton's attention felt like both a blessing and a threat, a line I had to walk carefully. One wrong move, one misjudged comment, and the fragile balance I had created could shatter. It was during one quiet evening, as I practiced walking in my heels across the polished living room floor, that I felt the first true pang of fear. I had left the front door unlocked, too caught up in the thrill of practicing my posture and balance. The sound of the latch clicking, the front door opening, made my stomach drop. I froze, mid-step, as a shadow fell across the doorway. Chris? No, he was still out. My mind raced. The shadow moved closer, and I realized with a jolt, it was Mrs. Dalton. But there was something different this time, a glint of mischief in her eyes that sent a shiver down my spine. I think it's time for a little challenge, she said softly, her voice like silk. Show me how confidently you can carry yourself, Kevin. Out there, in front of someone you might not expect. The implication hit me immediately. She wanted me to venture beyond the safety of her home, to test myself in the real world, under her watchful eye. The idea terrified me and thrilled me in equal measure. My heartbeat thundered as I nodded, unable to speak, my entire body buzzing with anticipation and anxiety. That night, I went home with my mind spinning. I tried to focus on my studies, but every thought returned to the skirts, the heels, the gentle but insistent guidance of Mrs. Dalton. I realized something profound. This wasn't just about crossdressing anymore. It was about trust, discovery, and the delicate dance of revealing a hidden self to someone who might understand, and who could also see the smallest slip, the tiniest crack in my carefully constructed facade. As the days passed, I found myself experimenting more boldly, trying new outfits, practicing new hairstyles, and testing the limits of my confidence. Mrs. Dalton's guidance became both a safety net and a challenge, pushing me to embrace this side of myself more fully, even as the tension of secrecy lingered in every interaction. The suspense built relentlessly. Every text from her, every casual comment, every quiet observation was a reminder that my private world was no longer entirely my own. I was being watched, guided, and gently nudged towards something I couldn't fully name. And the thrill, the fear, the excitement, the vulnerability was intoxicating. One evening, as I adjusted a skirt in my room, a thought struck me. What if Chris finds out? What if this goes too far? The idea sent a shiver through me, but before I could dwell on it, my phone buzzed. A message from Mrs. Dalton. Don't be nervous. You're perfect. Just be you. I'll see you soon. And in that moment, I realized the line between secret and exposure, between fear and excitement, had blurred entirely. My journey had only just begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The night Mrs. Dalton had promised to take me out finally arrived. My hands were clammy as I fumbled with the dress she had picked for me, a soft, flowing floral number that fell just above the knees. She had paired it with delicate heels, perfectly matched accessories, and a soft curl in my hair that framed my face beautifully. Standing in front of the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked feminine, poised, confident, and utterly exposed. You look stunning, Mrs. Dalton whispered, adjusting a strand of hair that had slipped. Her touch sent a shiver down my spine. But remember, Kevin, confidence is the key. Hold your head high, walk tall, and let the world see the best version of you. I nodded, heart pounding. This wasn't just about looking good, it was about performing, existing fully as someone I had only dared to explore in private. The thought of leaving the house in this form made my stomach twist in both fear and exhilaration. Every step outside could expose me. Every glance from a stranger could unravel the secret I had worked so hard to protect. We stepped into the quiet streets, the evening air crisp against my skin. Each click of my heels against the sidewalk felt amplified, echoing in my ears like a heartbeat of its own. I kept my posture straight, shoulders back, eyes forward, just as Mrs. Dalton had instructed, but inside, my mind raced with 100 anxious scenarios. What if someone recognized me? What if Chris saw me? What if someone judged me? Halfway to the little cafe, where she had insisted we meet for a casual dinner, we passed by a small boutique. Its warm lights spilled onto the sidewalk, and a window display caught my eye. Dresses, skirts, heels, all arranged perfectly, whispering promises of freedom, transformation, and daring adventure. Mrs. Dalton caught my gaze. "Do you want to go in?" she asked, her voice casual, teasing. "I can help you pick something new, something bold." I hesitated. My mind screamed caution, but my heart screamed curiosity. Nodding, I followed her inside, and the boutique swallowed us in a soft glow of chandeliers and gentle music. The saleswoman barely glanced at us, busy arranging clothes, but I felt the weight of Mrs. Dalton's eyes, guiding me, encouraging me, daring me. Hours passed in a whirlwind of outfits, fittings, and whispered instructions. She helped me try on dresses I never would have dared to wear alone, teaching me how to walk, how to hold my arms, how to smile subtly without losing composure. Each mirror reflected not just the skirts and makeup, but a part of myself I had never acknowledged, the thrill, the vulnerability, the intoxicating blend of fear and liberation. Then, suddenly, a knock at the door startled me. A man, tall, imposing, stood at the entrance. He looked directly at me. Recognition flashed in his eyes. My heart lurched. I need to use the phone," he said, his tone polite but tinged with something sharp, almost knowing. Mrs. Dalton's hand found mine, gentle but firm. "Stay calm, Kevin. Remember your posture. Remember who you are tonight." The man's eyes lingered for a heartbeat too long. Every muscle in my body tensed. My breath hitched. Could he recognize me from school? From the neighborhood? From some careless encounter I had long forgotten? He turned away suddenly, muttering something under his breath, and walked out. My knees nearly buckled. Mrs. Dalton's hand tightened around mine. "That was close," she whispered. "But you handled it beautifully. Remember this feeling. It's part of your growth." By the time we returned to her car, my body trembled with adrenaline. Every step, every glance, every heartbeat had pushed me closer to the edge. And yet, a thrill pulsed beneath the fear, a realization that I could survive this, that I could exist fully as this version of myself, even under scrutiny. Dinner at the cafe was a delicate dance. We navigated the tables, ordered food, and engaged in light conversation. But the world outside that cozy setting seemed to hum with potential exposure. Every passerby, every reflection in the windows, every raised eyebrow sent my mind spiraling. I had to maintain composure, but inside, I was acutely aware of every detail of my appearance, every nuance of my posture, every flicker of Mrs. Dalton's approving glance. Then it happened. A familiar voice, sharp and teasing, echoed from across the room. Well, isn't that Kevin?" I froze. Heart pounding. There, seated at a corner table, was Chris, my best friend, laughing with two other friends. Their eyes locked on me, and recognition dawned on him like a spotlight. My body stiffened, my face flushed crimson, and I wanted to vanish. Mrs. Dalton's hand rested lightly on my shoulder, grounding me. "Stay calm," she murmured. "This is your moment to shine. Show him who you are fully and unapologetically." Swallowing my fear, I took a deep breath and smiled. A real, confident smile that mirrored the transformation she had nurtured in me. "Hi, Chris," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. His jaw dropped slightly. You're wow." I felt the tension crack, replaced by a rush of exhilaration. The challenge had been monumental: exposure, judgment, vulnerability, but I had survived. I had not just survived. I had thrived. The combination of fear and liberation was intoxicating. But the suspense didn't end. As we left the cafe, a gust of wind caught my dress, lifting it briefly in a teasing swirl. I instinctively clutched it, heart racing, not just from the wind, but from the symbolic moment of total exposure. Mrs. Dalton laughed softly, brushing a stray lock of hair from my face. See? Even when life tries to rattle you, you remain graceful. That's power, Kevin. That's who you are. On the drive home, my mind replayed every moment. The boutique, the stranger, Chris, the lift of the dress. Each incident layered tension upon thrill, fear upon exhilaration. I realized the line between secrecy and exposure, fear and empowerment, had blurred completely. I had walked it, teetered on it, and emerged transformed, not just in appearance, but in confidence, in self-acceptance, in daring to be fully seen. By the time we returned to Mrs. Dalton's house, I was trembling, not from fear, but from the raw intensity of the experience. She guided me back to the mirror, letting me see the reflection of someone I was only beginning to recognize, poised, vulnerable, daring, undeniably me. You did wonderfully tonight, she said softly. But the journey isn't over. There are more challenges, more moments where you will be tested. And each one will make you stronger, more confident, more yourself. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The suspense, the fear, the thrill, they were far from over. And yet, for the first time, I was eager for what came next. Back in Mrs. Dalton's softly lit living room, I sank onto the plush sofa, my legs crossed delicately in the heels I had worn all evening. My hands still trembled slightly, a residual echo from the night's whirlwind of events: the boutique, the cafe, Chris, the gust of wind, and every small surge of adrenaline that had left me simultaneously exhausted and electrified. Mrs. Dalton moved around the room with her usual grace, picking up a stray hairpin I had dropped, adjusting the throw pillows, and finally sitting beside me. Her eyes held a knowing warmth, the kind that seemed to see through the layers of fear, shame, and uncertainty I had carried with me for years. You did beautifully tonight, Kevin. Better than you even imagined, she said, her voice soft but filled with conviction. I gave her a tentative smile, still processing everything. I can't believe I did it. I mean, in front of Chris. And everyone in the cafe. My voice trailed off, tinged with awe and disbelief. Exactly, she replied, placing a gentle hand on mine. You faced your fears, Kevin. You walked through that storm of judgment and exposure and emerged not just unscathed, but stronger. Her words were empowering, yet an undercurrent of tension lingered in the room. I couldn't shake the feeling that tonight's experiences were only the beginning. Mrs. Dalton's smile didn't waver, but her eyes sparkled with an intensity that hinted at secrets yet to be revealed, challenges yet to come. You know, she said after a pause, there's someone you'll need to meet. Someone who's going to be very important for your next transformation. My heart skipped. Another challenge? I asked, a mixture of fear and curiosity twisting inside me. Yes, she said simply, as if the word carried both promise and warning. And this one will test not only how confident you are in your appearance, but how far you're willing to go to embrace who you really are. I swallowed hard. My mind raced with possibilities. Who could it be? What kind of challenge? And more pressingly, how much of myself would I have to reveal? Then, from the corner of the room, my phone buzzed. I glanced down, an unknown number flashing on the screen. Hesitation clawed at me, but curiosity pushed me forward. I answered. Hello. My voice was steadier than I expected. A soft, almost melodic voice replied, tinged with amusement. Kevin, it's time we meet. I've been watching your progress, and I think it's time you step fully into your new life. My pulse thundered. Who is this? The line went silent for a moment, then the voice whispered, almost teasingly. You'll know soon enough. Just be ready.
Click.
The call ended, leaving me staring at my phone, heart racing, mind spinning. Mrs. Dalton's gaze met mine, calm and unreadable. "Are you ready for this, Kevin?" she asked softly. I wanted to nod. I wanted to say yes, that I was ready for whatever came next. But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at me. This wasn't just another outing or another test. It felt monumental, like the tipping point of everything I had been working toward. The room felt smaller suddenly, the shadows of the evening stretching longer. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, Kevin, poised and feminine, yet trembling beneath the surface. I realized then that my journey was far from over. This was only the beginning. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it an almost tangible sense of anticipation, danger, and thrill. Somewhere out there, a new chapter waited for me, one that could unravel the careful balance I had fought to maintain. And just as I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the unknown, a knock echoed through the house. Not gentle, not polite, deliberate. I froze, heart in my throat. Mrs. Dalton's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "That's your signal, Kevin. Step forward or retreat. The choice is yours." My hands trembled as I rose, the heels clicking against the hardwood floor. The door loomed ahead, a threshold to a future uncertain, thrilling, and terrifying all at once. I could feel the weight of every secret, every transformation, every whispered word from the night pressing against me. I reached for the handle. And then the story paused, suspended in that heartbeat between fear and exhilaration, leaving everything unresolved. Who was at the door? How far would Kevin go? Would the journey continue toward liberation or danger? The answer, for now, remained unknown.